Live now. We are live now.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of Real Estate Talk TGIF. It is a Saturday, so it still is TGIF. Thank God it's finale. That's correct. It's a Saturday, but it's thank God it's finale. Usually Fridays, but here we are. And it's my privilege to introduce a longtime friend of mine and just all around great guy, Jon Cheplak. Jon, thank you so much for coming on today. I know you're real busy, and I know it was the hat, by the way. But thanks for coming on.
Good morning. It's good to be with you here, man. It's good to be sitting in my chair at home instead of a chair on an airplane.
Well, I bet. I mean, you do an awful lot of traveling. You're all over the place. And tell us, I mean, you've been around a while. You and I have known each other, got to be 12, 14 years, something like that, which is scary if you think about it. But if you think, I mean, when you're going across country, what is the main thing that you're doing in essence in your business of coaching and leadership? What is the main point that you want to get across to people? We're going to get right into this now.
Sure. Well, I'll even go a level deeper and
cool.
How come and what's the real purpose? I think that I like to go to a simple place, and it's a contribution. And the only way you can contribute in our internet world, just like we're doing here online. You can get some great distance certainly here online, but getting in front of as many people as possible and extending a message of change. And change equals growth in my context of it. And so I'm going out to real estate companies, real estate teams, and I'm either working with leadership teams, and then also working with their agents and training their agents and working with them on productivity and skill sets and things of that sort. And it's expanded too, as you've seen. I've gone outside the industry. Now we're fortunately working with a good friend of mine, a fitness icon, Mike O'Hearn. We're doing we're doing masterminds there, and you've got celebrities, pro athletes, and CEOs, bringing big minds and big visions together to cross-pollinate and raise the IQ of the people in the group. So that's my overarching objective. I mean, and the interesting thing, I'm in a for-profit business, but money isn't. Money will take care of itself when you do that. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Well, that's so true. I mean, when you look at business, I mean, the idea is always to make money, and it's, what kind of value you're bringing. We hear that phrase a lot, bring value to what you're saying, bring value to your buyer, to your seller in the real estate business. But it's all over, and the value you're bringing to people, I mean, is evident by the people you're actually working with, and, the lives you've been able to change, mine included. So, I mean, talk to me about the challenges that you find in the leaders you're working with. What kind of challenges are you addressing these days, and what's the best way to address them as you move forward?
Well, they're and this may surprise some people. I always respect confidentiality. They're the same as everyone else's. The difference is they're willing to face them. If you look at, and again, I say this humbly, they were highly productive before me, but it's no mystery that I get to work with the elite, and in our industry and outside of our industry. And there's one common factor with the elite, that 1%. They've taken fear and transmuted it into motivation. Most human beings take fear and it paralyzes them, and they don't grow, or they make decisions that may not be the right. I don't know that there's a right or wrong decision, but it's not the decision that's going to take them to the next level. And the biggest decision we have to make, David, is looking at ourselves in everything that takes place. And so, I don't know that I can't say that they have a problem or a challenge. I think it's, I just kind of take you've heard me say it. It's a tiny hinge that swings a big door.
Right.
We look at
Right.
the business and we can look at the mechanics and we look at the science. And then I always say to leaders, well, let's look at you first, because it's what I do. And when they look at themselves, then I would say the only challenge for anyone is it's a continual process. Then it's committing to that process of self leadership. People get a skill set, they get a talent, or they feel good, and then they stop because they think they've arrived. So realistically, David, I think we've all got in us what the next elite performer on this planet. I know we do. I know we do. But I believe it's staying consistent in that growth and not getting satisfied, complacent, or letting things distract you. And that's what the best of the best and the biggest of the best. I mean, I'll close with this. You know what we do? We do more of doing less than more. I mean, you know these folks. What am I going to do? I'm going to come up with some new trick that they've never heard of. Bro, no.
No.
I mean, they're up here. And so it's me. I'm outside the jar. They're inside the jar. I see the ingredients. And so.
Exactly. I've had the good fortune of having a lot of your students, clients on this show: Sarah Kalki, Mike Pruitt, Ryan Hodge, Catherine Lucado. I said Mike Pruitt, Joe Viascuse has been on. All those people have been on. I think you saw one or two of them. We saw you come on. But it's these people that I've met, that I've kind of emulated some of their stuff. Mike Pruitt, I always use this phrase with him, and I always talk about, how do you do business? How do you do better business? Just by being nice.
Right.
So I've had the privilege of having these great people on, and I look at all of them, and it goes back to one thing you just started talking about. And one of the things that I try to approach, not only in what I do every day, but in my programs and stuff, is that word fear. I think that is like probably one of the scariest words or scariest things that for a lot of people that I know, and I would say all the people that I just mentioned, it's a driving force, right? And I spoke a little, I think yesterday, about the word doubt, and have the doubt be your power, have the doubt, propel you forward. And it's just like looking at all this stuff and fear and doubt. To me, those things now, today, through years of working on it, are strengths for me. You agree with that?
100%. You and I have talked about this, and it goes back to the training that I've done. People say, what's been the key to any growth or anything positive in your business? It's been my personal development that I've just been relentless about and militant about. Gary Zukov, when I had the moment with him on a mountaintop in Oregon many years ago, there's only two emotions. There's love and fear. And so then looking at fear, and then the next step is, okay, we all have fears, but how do you look at fear? And when you're a witness of it, not a judge of it.
My favorite thing.
Number one. Number two, in being a witness of it, not a judge of it, you then embrace it as contrast. It's a messaging. It's an alertness of an opportunity to grow. And so having these principles inside you, which is whether they have it consciously or unconsciously, sure, them just like me, every human being has, the moment appears and the choice point is made. So it's measure me, if something negative happens, what people are going to say, or something that's happened, or what this outcome is, or is this an opportunity for growth? And as much as many people will say that it's just grit and you break through the wall, I think they do, but you know what they ultimately do, and it's proven physiologically, they go to their heart. They go to their heart, and the heart carries people through. Just does. It's proven ethereally, if you will, and physically. It's proven. So these people have heart, and when fear shows up, that's what they go to. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not using superlatives. It's people you've mentioned. Huge things happen. Huge.
I absolutely agree. I mean, you talked the two words. There's so many words here you're using that just come back. And as I said to you before we went live, there's been so many things that I use and will always use. And what I learned from you is you just talked head to heart, right? Heart. You said, you didn't say head. You said heart. But I know that from what we've always talked about is sometimes people, when the problem comes along or a negative situation, people are talking and thinking too much here. Yeah. And that's where they need to go. They need to get out of that and in here. It just means so much to people. And then you're also talking about judge and witness. Those are things that we worked on for years, you and I. And this is almost like a trip down memory lane for me to talk about these things you and I have worked on. And it's if anybody who's listening wants to get something out of it, this is the part right here that is really, really cool. You have to think about it as, instead of looking at somebody and saying, hey, what they're doing, witness it, just be above it and just watch it. One of the things about you, as I've seen, and a lot of people should do this as well, is you talk about your business, you talk about what you do and how you do it. And your clients do your work for you. And what I mean by that is they boast for you. And that's really a compliment that I can make to you in what I've been talking about. And the biggest thing that you really talk about, I think, is I want to talk about a little bit is leadership, right? You're talking about be a leader, learn to be a leader and always improve your leadership. Can you talk a little bit about leadership for me now?
Sure. It's taking the mirror that we all have in our possession that sits on our lap and pulling it up to eye level. That's leadership. That's the first step in leadership. If you skip that step, you may do good, have some growth, but you're not going to endure because everything and everyone mirrors you. Everything and everyone mirrors you. It's proven not only from some of the quotes that we've heard. You're like the 5 people you spend the most time with. Physiologically, we have mirror neurons inside of us. And so unconsciously, when we are in the presence of certain people, we mirror them. I think a great example, and some of the people you named and others that we know, it's interesting. I look at the events that I do. They're not there for me. They're not at the events for me. They show up. We've got our event coming up here in September. They're not going to be there for me. They know the energy of the certain people that are there. They know what it's going to feel like, what they're going to leave with from that person. I mean, I do events where I don't even have an agenda done that I'm putting on a landing page. I mean, I'll throw stuff out there. And so these are kind of the things you look underneath it. So back to leadership is focusing on yourself, absolute 100% personal responsibility, not just having it to be business. It has to be the whole person. That's leadership. Number 2, then, replacing yourself on a daily basis. So think about that. The only way you can grow a business is if people come up, if people can take the skill sets that you had in the early days and replace you in that space so that you can grow your capacity. Well, the only way that can happen, I mean, it can happen. You can have people step into roles, but then they're going to mirror the level that you've grown to. So it's A, knowing that it starts with me, self-leadership. B, it's knowing that in my journey of self-leadership, that now every day I need to replace myself. And C, in replacing myself, it's generously transferring skill sets to people that I've gained to grow them. Now, D, here's the critical piece, is understanding human behavior and knowing that top down telling people what to do doesn't work. And there's many breakdowns. And those are the things that I look at when working with a leader. I'm outside the jar. Ooh, not enough personal responsibility here. Or, oh my gosh, too much personal responsibility, but just a massive judge of yourself. Stop that, or maybe not transferring skill sets to people at the level that you need to, or the right way. You're not connecting with them, or maybe top down and leading from fear. Maybe that's the one we focus on. But the final piece in leadership is understanding that people want accountability. But knowing the science and the art of that and doing it right, that's leadership. That's it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just something that we're all leaders, and
yes,
right?
Yes,
we're all leaders and need to number one, lead ourselves, I guess, and number two, I mean, it's almost like set an example. I remember years ago. Wow, I'm going to say almost 40 years ago, working in a building, and I was complaining about something. My dad goes to me, quit complaining and set an example. And I think it's one of the main things I learned from him, aside from all the other stuff, but setting an example and being a leader is so very important and so important to one's business, right? Because we see it in our business so much. I mean, there's 1.4 million licensed realtors in our business, and how many of them are working, how many they're leading? Not a lot, but what's great, John? I mean, I believe was at the first event that you ever did, which was in Arizona, which they were like
12.
Yeah, 12 people in a conference room, and it was. Geez,
I think we were shooting the PowerPoint from the end of the boardroom table.
Yes,
and yes. Part of it, Joe Viascusa, there was a laptop. Maybe part of it was on the back of his head. I mean,
there was Joe Viascusa was there. Mike Pruitt was there. Ryan Hodge was there.
Robin Yates.
It was the first time I met all these people, and then have had a lot of interaction with all of them over the years. But the reason I bring that up is that these were all leaders from all over North America, right? Mm-hmm. Ryan from Canada, Mike from Georgia, Joe from California. So, and even if I put myself in it from Jersey, right? Yeah. So, I mean, we're all there, and then your event went from there to Joe's place, right? Yeah. Where we had about 30 people that time, and Sarah was there. I met Sarah then, and Catherine Lucado was there. So it's just great leaders coming together and showing the leadership. But you said they're not being there for you, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I see, and I went through some of the postings from you earlier today, just to fresh myself. Even though you and I have known each other for years and years, there were a couple of things in there. One of the things I saw, and it was more of a post about innovator as opposed to dinosaur. And I thought that was really cool and something I could really get you to sink your teeth into and to really talk about that for us.
Well, it's interesting, and it comes back to, and I go sharp angle, and you know me well enough, and it's just my choice of how I get people's attention, because I know my attention comes from the truth, though. I just call the truth, and I don't want to be, one of the biggest mistakes is being politically correct, and you're losing yourself. Right. And so I have a responsibility in my role to tell the truth. And one of the things you've heard me say is everyone's shooting past the target. And the target is simplicity. The target is simplicity. The target is completion. And the target is mastery. The target isn't something new. And, I'll get questions all the time. Gosh, I couldn't imagine sitting on one of those coaching calls with, some of the people that you talk to, and they even build it up to think it's going to be something complex. And I'm not minimizing it for them. They'd all come on and say it. It's the tiny things. It's the simple things. And it's not looking for what's new. It's not looking for what's new. People say they're an innovator, and so I'll say, great. So tell me about your email open rates. Tell me how much time you've spent testing a email subject line. I mean, if you want to look at highest return on investment, and I love it, and listen, there's all kinds of things out there, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but email's dead, or sure, email is dead if your content is crap. You know, if you have a poor subject line, and then if you look at salutations versus using the first line as a subhead, if you look at the fact of how the ESPs actually determine what gets through the walls and what doesn't, and it's less of maybe content versus file size, which it sounds pretty obvious because the servers don't want heavy files coming through, you know, and that's just one little area. You know, what if I'm an innovator. Great. You've done 3 videos in a month. Knock yourself out. That's my point. Oh, you're an innovator. Really great. So tell me how often you're hitting your database with an email. What's the message? What's your open rates? What your click-through rates? And, you know, people can clearly articulate the ins and outs of every new program out there and have an opinion, but rarely can they get into the granular level of the things that really matter with their business. Justin Haber, I'm going to share his trade secret right now. I mean, you know, this is a guy that went from number 9 to number 1 in Canada. And I'll say this about any of my clients. They all do the work. I'm fortunate they trust me. I've worked with him for almost 3 years. They trust me, and I get it right along. But, you know, it's just brilliance. You know, a year ago, and we were just texting this morning, looking at what I'm coming up there next, and they'll map out their 2020 there, and their theme was mastery. And you know, we're talking about number 1 in Canada, number 9 in the world. And it wasn't what more can we do? What next thing can we roll out? It was we're rolling nothing new out. We're going to master what we have and staying true to it. The less is more. There's so many cliches we hear out there, but then are you really doing it? It's this absolute conviction and commitment to focusing on what you already have and mastering it. That's innovation, because it's not innovative to try something new. What's innovative is to master what you have.
Right. Absolutely. You know, it's people think that they're good enough, and they are good enough, but there's always people that strive to get better. And the ones that are sitting still, they're still going to be okay. They're still going to be good if that's what they want. Okay. I get that. But it's funny, you know, you talk about, you know, the tongue in cheek earlier about, you know, send out a couple of videos and this, that, and the other thing. I think you and I have been talking about videos since we both did our first videos way back when.
10 years? 10 years has it been? Maybe?
I think 11 for me.
Yeah, 10 or 11 years. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And I remember, you know, it probably still is the most viewed video you had is the one in Starbucks in Coronado, I believe, right?
Well, that was right now. But it isn't was on YouTube, yes, but I've got the one with 2 million views on Facebook. The one walking around with the red baseball cap. You haven't seen that 3 million times, have you?
1.5 million, I've seen it. You know, I've seen it a few times. I remember it really well.
Well,
hey, look, you know,
Dave, watch this. I mean, and I have to admit it because the one at the Starbucks in Coronado, I mean, it's there, so there's proof. I had an Oakley baseball cap on, and yes, I'm going to admit it, folks, I had an Affliction hoodie on, and that thing's the highest performing. So, and then my one on Facebook's at 2 million views, baseball cap on and a hoodie coming out of the gym. And so our pro tip, and it's why David has the baseball cap that he's promoting there that he's going to send to me. If you want to be a winner, wear a baseball cap in a video. I'm just kidding.
Is that it? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Okay.
There we are. Yeah.
Got it. Because my friend Matt was telling me to put my hat on.
Yeah. So. You need to. So the and that just weaves right into it right there with video is we hear it over and over, but the example is be yourself. Let's be yourself. Selfie video at 4 a.m. walking out of the gym for 4.5 minutes. It's had 2 million views. And I'm talking about on a person and then go to personal levels, because the way to widen your funnel is let people see more of you. The way to widen your funnel is let people see more of you. And so I was talking about addiction and recovery, and then but then choice and change, because it doesn't matter what it is, and it doesn't have a call to action or a lead magnet. And that generated so much business. I mean, come on.
Right. Well, it's just a matter of I mean, you're being yourself, and you know the videos that I do and everything I do, it's being me. I mean, and here's the thing that I always try to get across to people, and I know you do too, is it's actually it for us it's not, but for everybody else it's different. You know, and one of the things to actually catapult yourself and is to do what others refuse to do. You know, do it, and that's different. Whether it's doing this live broadcast and me being goofy with Thank God It's Finale. Honestly, I don't care what people think, right? I mean, I've had Chris Smith on this. I've had Rick Davidson, the former CEO and president of Century 21, Jimmy Mack, and Steve Harney. I can go on and on and on, right? And they get it, you know, because they're innovators themselves, and they're on here and they're doing it every day. And you know, it's like some people come into business, they're born to be dinosaurs. So, you know, I mean, which way are they going to turn? So in other words, one of the things I believe we've talked about, or you've talked about, is challenge or be challenged, right? So you need to challenge yourself every day. And that's what you just talked about with Justin is, okay, so they went from 9 to number 1. Now they're number 1. What else is there? Well, he's challenging himself to be better, right?
Unreal. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he is. Well, because it's constant growth. It's constant growth because there's misleading information from folks that have their own philosophy. Okay, stop growing, stay there. Now you've got your perfect team and things are great. Oh, okay. And everyone's staying with you forever. Okay.
Exactly.
So much bad advice on that stuff. And I get it because A, it sounds good. B, in some cases, it's someone that has never been there, and so it would seem logical that hey, things are good, and but no, and so it's that constant growth and understanding that you've got an existing culture, and underneath it, you always have a subculture that's developing and evolving and taking you into what's next.
And you know, I look at that, and I actually have kept notes for years with our conversations and stuff, and there's a lot of things that always come back to me, you know. And it's what's funny is that I was working on something yesterday, and I have a lot of the huge Post-its, you know, the flip charts that I took a lot of notes on. Little under 2 years ago, when I sold my business, I had to figure things out. And I had flip charts all over the place. And I found something about marketing that we talked about. But today I found something else, actually yesterday. And you have to correct me if I say this wrong, because it's how I had it in my notes. We're changing gears a little bit here. The persona drives the story drives the dialogue drives the progress, and progress equals discovery. Yeah. Is that right? Did I do that right?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
It is, right? Where'd it come from? Anyway, so talk to me about people and their stories and why they're so important.
Well, story and marketing. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Well, I'm not going to go religious here, but there's a couple reasons. And you don't have to be religious to know what the number 1 all-time bestseller is. And there's many reasons. Okay. Number 1 all-time bestseller is the Bible. And the Bible's written in parables, stories. So actually, over the years, a large amount of society that chooses the Bible, okay, and has read it, all-time bestseller, we've been programmed by story. You go back to cavemen. And this is just really understanding. We're not in the real estate business. We're in the human behavior business. And they did story. Everything was story. Okay. And so what happens is there's a program that takes place. So now why is that important? And how does that work? Well, because we're looking to be relatable. We're looking to create a common ground, and we're looking for somewhere where we see we fit in the story, or we don't. If we don't see ourselves fit in the story, we're not going to engage or enroll. We're not going to see that connectivity. You look at parasocial behavior too, then on the screen. People back in the 70s, they studied that. There's stories going on with soap operas, and just amazing. People saw themselves in the story, and it's real. You look at what's going on. I just spent a day and a half with my Facebook ads coach. I've been in inner circles with him. And right now, what's doing the best, we're talking ridiculous levels with people that are spending $10,000 a day on a Facebook ad. Story, screenplay. Everyone wants to buy. So there's the programming, and then you look at the Kardashians. Let's talk about the Kardashians. And these were the things that I looked at in building my business. And building my business is the same as everyone else's.
Right.
We're all in the enrollment business. We're enrolling human beings into our journey and into our beliefs and into the value exchange that we can give them. Well, then the leaders that I coach and train, they're enrolling agents, and agents are enrolling consumers, right? And so when you take a look at, and then you go back to the old know, like, and trust, right? Well, but let's come back to the Kardashians. 10 years ago, they trained us.
Yep.
They trained that we can be voyeurs. And now we expect to be able to see inside someone's life. Literally, watch this. With our time or our money, we pay for voyeurism.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Voyeurism. And when it
this
really
is the TV.
Yes. When it really turned, Dave, is for me 4 or 5 years ago when I took the 60-inch and threw it in the garage, is when I went to Animal Planet and all these other National Geographic channels and saw that reality TV, I'm like, there's no value here for me anymore. But here's what it did tell me too, is that's the program. And so then looking at story, it's getting inside people's stories. So we've been trained for thousands of years through DNA. That comes through us. We've been trained even more intensely with the evolution of reality TV. We've been trained even more so through Facebook now, in that everyone's a stalker. People expect to know more about you. I told people this yesterday, group agents in Atlanta, group agents in Alabama on Thursday. I said, listen, if people go to your Facebook page and they just see like nothing, they're going to wonder what you're hiding.
That's right.
Here's the question, Dave. After someone has a connection with you on a phone call or an email or something, do they Google you or do they go to your personal Facebook page?
You go into your personal Facebook page first. That's my opinion. That's what I do.
Ta-da!
Right.
Exactly. And so then I say to them so what does that true business website, today's business website look like? And I can say that from personal experience of where business runs in, whether it's software or coaching or speaking.
Right.
Messenger, I've got websites. I have to send to people. Hey, I need to know more. Go to my website. Some may say I'm a poor marketer because I'm not driving people on a website. Well, I don't know. Let me tell you how much it costs me to market on my personal Facebook page.
I'm going to say about that much.
Yeah. And I'm not the guy that sits here and says, I make X dollars, but I'm doing okay.
Yeah, exactly. Look, you know what? Chris Smith said it. I know you've said it. Facebook equals the internet, plain and simple. That's where people are going to be. That's where people are. And people say, well, you know what? There's a lot of people not on it anymore because of IG and Instagram. And, honestly, it's still where people go. You agree?
This, it's why, who runs the Instagram feed is who took over the Instagram feed is the guy that used to run the Facebook feed and algorithm. And guess what? Is today the 20th?
No, Monday. Tuesday.
I've already seen it happen. Okay. So guess what? Facebook, the feed's changing. Right now, if everyone, this will be by the time it goes up, maybe, well, people are watching right now, you're going to see it, but in the future, and you better pay attention. So the Facebook feed is changing to look more like the Instagram feed. They're reducing the 7 lines, including spacing, that you had above a picture or an image, or a picture or a video, to 3.
I've already seen that. In some posts, I've already seen that.
Yes. I saw it on one of my first ones yesterday, and I shared it in my elite inner circle. I said, it's already happening. Well, what does that mean? And the people that are the dinosaurs, I'm just going to tell you, man, because listen, if you're not where the eyeballs are and delivering messaging in the number one way that they want to consume it, you're a dinosaur. And then the next part goes to whether you're recruiting, and I don't care what business you're in, you're enrolling people. Well, you had 7 lines of copywriting. And it's interesting in our industry too. You say copywriting to people, like how many people go to a copywriting class? I mean, like getting down to the science of it. Well, right, sure, I know. You had 7 lines to get people to stop the scroll and engage with the one thing that gets us to make a choice to do something, words. You just lost 4 lines. Now, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And so it's those type of things you need to look at. But yeah, but believe me, Facebook's doing just fine. And what's beautiful is they have all the data they need to make the right choices to make it work, I think.
I agree with that. I mean, it's just like you've got to roll it. Everybody gets so upset when there's a change and the algorithm changed, or it's changing this way. I mean, that's such bullshit. I mean, just don't get excited about it. Don't worry. Just do what you got to do. It's like the old thing.
How about be you, and your people are going to find you.
Exactly. I mean, just be you. Stop bitching and moaning. Just do the work. But that's the big thing, really, is just do the work rather than having somebody else do it for you. Jon, I know we've been on for a while. It's been really great. I mean, I want to ask you 1 or 2 quick questions to finish up here, because time is getting short. If you were a real estate agent that needed to improve their business, what would be the one thing that you would do? What would be the one thing that you would say to that real estate agent, how to improve your business? What would that be?
Well, and I say this, and I don't have room to take anyone on.
I know what you're going to say.
Right? I mean, I just don't. So it's not a solicitation here. Is get accountability in your life, like now. And let me tell you something. Your wife can't hold you accountable. Your husband can't hold you accountable. But you have an agreement. That's just established agreement system you have. Try hold. No, I'm talking about someone that's going to hold you truly accountable. If it's someone, and not someone you have a real intimacy with. Intimacy meaning a longtime friend. That's tough to have. So that's the reason people hire coaches. Without accountability, good luck. I have more coaches today than I did when I was an executive running a multi-state, multi-office organization. Get accountability in your life. Abandon your goals and start making commitments. Stop with the big why and these massive goals, because the number one reason a human being doesn't take action is overwhelm. And everything big is built on the back of micro commitments. And I'll define that is a short-term commitment, meaning it has a short-term deadline that applies pressure against the big outcome that you want. And having someone check in and hold you accountable to it the right way. Because you don't need more information. Ladies and gentlemen, you need inspiration, and the right kind of accountability is inspiration. You line up 100 people, I'll take the committed ones. You can have the most talented one. You want to look at long-term, okay? And people may say, well, because you're a gritty guy. No, that's not it. Give me a Navy SEAL that has 1 month of real estate experience, and you give me a $10 million producer. I'm looking at the long term of my business. That's going to be a tough choice for me. because I know that dude over there, that Navy SEAL, he understands commitment. And he has fear, but he knows how to move through fear. $10 million producers do these things. And I'm not to say that Navy SEAL, is not human. They're going to have their moments, but they've got these foundational principles that are so deep inside them that will carry them through no matter the situation.
You've got the discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Without question. Jon, I want to thank you so much for coming on. If people just if you would just let people know how they can contact you or get in touch with you or look at you, please just
sure.
Throw that out.
They can go to my Instagram, Cheplak Live, and my right now, I guess the best business page, because my personal Facebook's got too many folks there. I mean, but there's a follow option naturally on Jon Cheplak, my personal Facebook page. And then there's also my, I don't know, I guess they call it public figure. That always sounds kind of funny to me.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
I mean, and fans, no. Jonathan Cheplak, you can go there. And then my website is cheplaklive.com. So any of those places, you'll find me somewhere in the interwebs. And no, bots don't answer. Not that I think I'm that. Someone, a couple people came back and says, I know Jon wasn't the one that responded to my messenger email. He's got people that do that, but it still felt like it. I'm like, no. Listen, I certainly have boundaries, of course, and as I hope that each and every one of you do too. But people can reach out to me and message me or whatever, Yeah.
So just to clarify, your organization is as big as it was 5 years ago, right?
Yep.
Okay. So take it from me. He does not have staffs all over the place. He's got a couple of really great people.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jon, I want to thank you. And as I said, this is coming out to you, man. This is coming out to you. The hat just got a new shipment. It's coming out. Hey, peace and love to you. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll see you soon. Stay on for a minute, if you would, please.
Okay, good.